Good day everyone. I am Carl James B. Salvador, your first presenter for today's lesson. So our lesson for today is all about the principles and strategies of teaching and designing IEP for learners with difficulty remembering and focusing. But before proceeding to our proper discussion, let's read first the intended learning outcomes. This first is the students would be able to use their knowledge of general and individualized curricula in designing individualized learning for learners with difficulty remembering and focusing. Second, they can distinguish the elements of UDL, and lastly, identify the principles of UDL. Now, learners with difficulty remembering and focusing have learning characteristics that make receiving and interpreting information challenging. Due to these difficulties, these learners require intensive and frequent individualized interventions that this chapter suggests for possible implementation in the classroom and in the development of the Individualized Education Plan, or the IEP. Take note that the students with difficulty remembering and focusing are the students who has a problem receiving and interpreting information. Now, what is IEP? The IEP, or the Individualized Education Plan, is a document developed by the team of professionals together with the guardian or the child that specifies learners' present level of performance, identifies measurable annual goals, and describes specific special education and related services aligned to meet these goals. Take note that not all learners with difficulties or disabilities require IEP. So the purpose of IEP, or the Individualized Education Plan, is to ensure that the learners receive the appropriate services and support needed to achieve their educational goals. So why is it that we have to take note that not all learners with difficulties or disabilities requires, or they have to undergo IEP? Is that because before making IEP, we have to undergo a process? So what are those processes? First is the pre-referral. A pre-referral is a process which is done before the learner is subjected to formal testing and evaluation for special education. The next one is the response to intervention, or the RTL. The RTL is a formal and systematic pre-referral process that helps determine whether the learner is to be identified for referral for special education. Now, I have here a figure about the response to intervention. So, we have here in the left side the academic systems and the behavioral systems. We can see here the academic systems and the behavioral system. When we say academic systems, these are instructional practices and strategies to address academic needs to every struggling students. On the other hand, this is to address the behavioral needs of students who's experiencing behavioral difficulties. Now, let's move on to the educational approaches. There are a lot of educational approaches, but we will be focusing on the Universal Design for Learning, or the UDL. So when we say UDL, the UDL is an educational framework and set of principles that maximizes learning opportunities for all learners by creating and implementing lessons with flexible goals, methods, and assessments. It originally emerged from the field of urban design and architecture and refers to the process of crafting practical solutions to meet the needs of students with disabilities and at the same time benefiting those without disabilities. When applied to curriculum and instruction, it incorporates three principles. So, the most critical part of giving instruction is gaining attention of the learners. So that's why the first thing to do is to catch the attention of the students or the learners. On the other hand, UDL, or the Universal Design for Learning, when applied to curriculum and instruction, it incorporates the three principles. So what are those principles? So first, the first principle of the Universal Design for Learning, or the UDL, is that multiple means of representation to give diverse learners options for acquiring information and knowledge. For example, present information and content in different ways. Second, multiple means of action and expression to provide learners options for demonstrating what they know. Example, differentiate the ways that students can express what they know. And lastly, multiple means of engagement to tap into students' interest, offer appropriate challenges, and increase motivation. Example, stimulate interest and motivation for learners. Now, we have here table about UDL, or the UDL lesson guide sample. So we have here the instructor, the subject, the title, the grade level, and the lesson objectives. So our objectives must be SMART, or specific, measurable, attainable, relevancy-oriented, and time-bound. We have here also the types of learners assumed to be in the classroom. Next is the K-12 standards, the materials or resources that will be used, and the assessment. Now, the Universal Design for Learning, or the UDL, since each child learns differently, one can benefit from the use of UDL, as it designs and delivers a variety of learning formats, assessments, and tools. UDL helps ensure that curricular materials and learning technologies accommodate the learning needs of the widest possible range of individuals, including those with severe learning disabilities.
So, good day everyone. So, my topic will center around the crucial relationship between lesson design, effective teaching procedures, and the principles of universal design for learning, or what we call the UDL. So, we'll be exploring how UDL's framework can enhance the learning experience for all students by focusing on the three areas like the representation, engagement, and expression. So, as you can see, this lesson plan outlines an activity to teach students about ecosystems and basic needs. It begins with students discussing their dream vacations in pairs, allowing the teacher to identify students who need extra support. So then, the class collectively identifies basic human needs, such as water, food, shelter from the vacation descriptions. Pictures of fruits and vegetables are used to introduce the concept of an ecosystem, followed by an analysis of an ecosystem picture presented via LCD projector and also provided in print for students with visual impairments. So the lesson incorporates UDL principles by using various methods of presentation such as oral presentations, illustrations, reading aloud, and engagement, or by pair work or group of work. So after the lesson opening, let's proceed to teacher input, wherein this lesson plan, this segment describes a follow-up activity after introducing ecosystem components. So the students watch a video with subtitles identifying examples and characteristics. Then they create their own examples individually or in groups using illustrations, tables, paragraphs, Google Images, or real-world observations. So the teacher facilitates, provides support, including ability pairing, and monitors students' progress. So finally, students present their work in a classroom gallery, receiving feedback from teacher and peers. Exceptional work is displayed on a classroom proud wall or bulletin board. And for our third lesson element is a guided practice, wherein in this section they use as Boracay Philippines as its main focus. So the students first view travel guides, pictures, and videos of Boracay. Then they discuss the 2018 closure and redevelopment. So they also analyze the reasons, such as like the human impact on the ecosystem. So finally, they evaluate images of human activities, indicating whether each activity helps or harms the ecosystems and explaining their choices. So the activity uses various presentations methods such as visual, textual, oral, and encourages individual and group participation. So for our fourth one in lesson element in making lesson plan is the independent practice, wherein the student choose one of four independent activities such as creating a poster on good ecosystem practices, a news report or skit on harmful practices, a speech on respecting the ecosystem, or a communication through letter or video or social media to the mayor suggesting monitoring and policy creation. So the final products will be presented individually or in groups using various methods of expression. And so for our last lesson element is the closure. So the lesson, as you can see, the lesson concludes with students writing or sharing a pledge. So I promise not to outlining their personal commitment to maintaining a clean environment. This can be done individually or with a partner. So, to conclude that topic, a well-designed lesson plan incorporating a strong lesson opening to engage students, clear and concise teacher input to deliver key concepts, guided practice to ensure understanding, differentiated independent practice to cater to diverse learning styles, and a thoughtful closure to summarize and assess learning is crucial for effective instruction. So this structured approach ensures that students actively participate, receive appropriate support, and demonstrate their understanding of the materials, ultimately leading to improved learning outcomes. So for our next topic is, it talks about the direct instructions, wherein it is an evidence-based teaching practice that effectively improves students' achievement across various skills and subject areas. So we have here the two components. Number one, active response to learners. And number two is systematic error, monitoring and progress tracking. So the key components, number one, response cards, wherein its purpose is to identify and track students' response during the lessons. So here are the process in making a response card. Number one is to create coded index card for students' responses. Number two is post questions about the lesson content and wait for responses. Step three, perform quick classroom scans to check students' answers. So for that, the teacher's role is to provide feedback, praises correct answers, and systematically correct errors. So here are the types of response cards. Number one, pinch or click cards, multiple choice cards, true or false cards, fact or opinion cards, add or subtract cards, popsicle sticks, paper point acts. So number two is self-monitoring, wherein it is a behaviorally based intervention promoting self-regulation. So the key features of this is students observe their own behavior systematically. Students record occurrences and non-occurrence of specific behavior. Uses a structured monitoring form, components of a self-monitoring form. Student identification like the name, the date, class information or the period, class time period of that class, then targeted behavior field. So daily tracking system, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the table look at there at the table, based on the table. So simple response system, smiles or frowns. So benefits of direct instruction. So number one is promotes active students engagement, of course. So also it provides immediate feedback, allows systematic tracking of progress, helps identify areas needing improvement, encourages students self-awareness and responsibility. So this teaching strategies is particularly invaluable for learners with difficulty remembering and focusing as indicated by the chapter title. It combines structured teaching methods and self-monitoring tools to enhance learning outcomes and behavioral awareness. So let's proceed to explicit instruction, which is it is a direct and systematic approach to teaching that ensures clear and structured learning. So according to Arthur and Hugs 2011, it's designed to guide students through the learning process with maximum clarity and support until they achieve independent mastery. So there are key components: the lesson opener, the explanation and modeling. Number three is guided practice, and number four is independent practice. So we have also here the key characteristics of explicit instruction, which is clear statements about learning purposes, detailed rationale for new skills, systematic progression from guided to independent work, continuous feedback, focus on mastery achievement. So there are also benefits for this, such as it provides structured learning environment, ensure clear understanding of concepts, build confidence through guided practice, promotes independent mastery, particularly effective for learners with difficulty remembering and focusing. So this instructional approach is especially valuable in special education contexts, as indicated by the chapter's focus on IEP, Individualized Education Program, and learners with difficulty remembering and focusing. So it provides a clear pathway from initial instructions to independent mastery through carefully structured steps and support. That's all.
So good morning everyone, I am Abigail G. Dagoy. So now let's proceed to the teaching strategies. So we have here the reading instruction. So these strategies below are recommended for learners with problems in reading acquisition and reading difficulties. Teaching reading comprehension include using self-questioning, use of graphic organizer, mnemonics, and summarizing. Additionally, teachers are recommended to use or to teach pupils to develop their own learning style or their personal approach, to teach pupils to develop their own strategies and to help them individualize their own way of studying and learning. So as you can see, we have here the 4 strategies from A to D. So the first one is the language experience approach. So we have here the 3 basic elements. So the first one is what a child think about, can talk about. Second one is what a child can say, can write. And the third one, what the child writes, can read. So this sequence proposed therefore starts from thinking, talking, and writing to reading. In determining reading material, it is recommended to use the child's interest and experience in a learning text. So we have here the letter B, the kinesthetic auditory visual emphasis method. So Fernald, 1943, originally designed this method as presented in the figure. So this method makes the readers to correctly write and read unwritten words, combining the sense of touch, hearing, seeing, and then move to more extensive reading materials. So as you can see in the figure above, it involves the visual, the auditory, and the kinesthetic. So the first one there is the finger tracing of the words on the paper. So that will belong to the tactile kinesthetic. So example, the child will going to trace the word cat. So that belong to the tactile kinesthetic. And in the auditory, while pronouncing the same word aloud, so the child can pronounce the word cat aloud, so it belongs to the auditory. And the learner knew words by looking at the teacher's written copy of the word, or that the child can look or the word cat, so that belongs to the visual. And the third one is the directed reading thinking activity. So that is the letter C. So reading is thinking activity. In order to direct reading to the thinking process, metacognition should be applied by the reader, asking himself questions such as, what do you think? And that determine to the material for learning. And the second one is, why do you think? So that determine, find out the meaning of it. And the third one, can you prove it? And by asking that, you can find the purpose to develop reasoning according to Jana 2013. So some studies view reading as disabilities as strategy deficiency, and thus teaching cognitive learning strategies to them can help them improve their reading. So we have here some suggested activities such as using advanced organizers and verbal rehearsal and question strategies. And the last one is the MISQ analysis of oral reading. So this is an assessment strategy introduced by Goodman 1969 that helps the teacher identify cueing system used by the readers. So this strategy that was given by Goodman, it can help to identify the errors or mistakes of the child. And now we have the writing instruction. So learners with difficulty in writing have problems with basic skills in handwriting, spelling, punctuations, and grammar. Studies suggest that explicit instruction, including practice and feedback, could help learners develop basic skills in writing. So we have here some suggested teaching strategies. So the first one is study test technique. So this is all about giving the pre-test at the beginning of each unit of the study, where the words misspelled become the learner's study list. Post-test is also given after the unit to determine the learner's mastery. And the next one is the cognitive strategy instruction in writing, or the CSIW. So it was developed by Englert and her associates during 1992. CSIW was a research program aim at developing learners' expository writing skills and knowledge of various ways that a text could be organized. So when using this program, the learners are asked to describe their plans of writing and are guided to internalize and perceive themselves as informants in the action of writing. And the last one is the self-regulation. This strategy, the writer's continuous vigilance of the graphic, syntactic, and semantic errors that happen in writing. So, Graham and Harris, 1987, developed instructionalized procedures for this strategy, which include number 1, the pre-skill development, review of current performance level, discussion of executive strategy, modeling of the strategy and self-instruction, mastery of the strategy, collaborative practice, and lastly, independent performance. So this training is done to internalize and strategize of writing to the extent that there is a minimal dependence on the teacher or therapist to learn writing. And the last topic is the mathematics instruction. So the same as the previous areas, the use of explicit instruction is suggested in teaching mathematics. So these are the strategies in mathematics instruction. So the first one is motivational approach. So teaching mathematics should be in motivational than teaching computation skills without a context, according to Jenna 2013. This means that when teaching mathematics, learners should be exposed to problem-solving approach and strategies using day-to-day life examples instead of making them learn to the rules of the thumb or fundamental rules alone. And next, and the last topic of the mathematics instruction is the error analysis. So the reason for committing errors in mathematical computation provide information on specific problem experienced by learners. So the common errors can include the concept of place values, computational facts, using wrong process of calculation, poor concept of carryover and working from left to right, and reversal direction. Likewise, the reason for committing such errors may include absence of prerequisite mathematical skills. And familiarity with basic number facts and problem of conceptualization, speed of processing, and deficit in adapting effective calculation strategies. So these errors, once identified, could be the focus of discussion to remedy further math difficulties. So that would be all. Thank you.